I'm Mark Price. I'd like to talk to you today about sheep unto the wolves. There were a group of boys who were surrounding a dog, and a pastor walked by and he saw them, and he went over to them and he said, "What are you doing?" And the boy said, "Well, we're trying to decide who gets to keep the dog." And the pastor asked, "Well, how are you going to decide that?" And the boy said, "Well, we decided that the one who could tell the very best and biggest lie gets to keep the dog." The pastor said, "Well, that's just not right. You can't lie." And he went on for 5 minutes or so, giving them a sermon or preaching to them about the evils of lying. And then he added this. He said, "When I was your age, I never ever told a lie." Well, the boys kind of looked at each other and they said, "Oh, all right, give him the dog." That was the biggest lie ever. There you go. The gospel today is from Matthew chapter 10, verses 16 to 23. Jesus said to his apostles, "Behold, I am sending you like sheep in the midst of wolves. So be shrewd as serpents and simple as doves. But beware of men, for they will hand you over to courts and scourge you in their synagogues. And you will be led before governors and kings for my sake, as a witness before them and the pagans. When they hand you over, do not worry about how you are to speak or what you are to say. You will be given at that moment what you are to say, for it will not be you who speak, but the Spirit of your Father speaking through you. Brother will hand over brother to death, and the father his child. Children will rise up against parents and have them put to death. You will be hated by all because of my name, but whoever endures to the end will be saved. When they persecute you in one town, flee to another. Amen, I say to you, you will not finish the towns of Israel before the Son of Man comes." The Gospel of the Lord. So here we have an extension. Jesus has called his 12 disciples forward, and he's prepared them and continues to prepare them to send them into the world as apostles. Remember, the word apostle means one who is sent. So he's making them apostles by preparing them and sending them into the world, and continuing the last couple of days, he's giving them what they need in the way of warnings, what's going to happen. And today he says a variety of things that they need to be wary of and what they need to do and how they need to react to and respond to what the world does to them. And I'm going to pull 3 phrases from today's reading and focus on those a little bit. The first is, I'm handing you over like sheep to the wolves. The second one, it is not you who will be speaking, but the Father who will be speaking through you. And number 3, whoever endures to the end will be saved. Those are the 3 thoughts that I have on this reading that I want to share with you. First, I'm handing you over like sheep to the wolves. I think an important distinction that we have to take from this is he's not sending us over as sheep to just act like sheep, docile and put up with whatever they give to us. He's not saying, I'm sending you out as sheep to go along to get along. He's telling us, I'm sending you as sheep to proclaim the good news, to proclaim the gospel. And the world will hate you for it. The world will be like wolves trying to destroy the sheep. They will do everything they can to try to destroy you. That's the nature of the world. The country that I live, born and raised in, America, was founded not by people trying to further racism and slavery, which is what they're trying to tell us nowadays, but it was founded by people who escaped Europe to escape religious persecution because they wanted to come to this place where they were told they could practice their faith freely and openly. And that's why this place was founded. That's why America was founded, is people trying to proclaim the gospel of the Lord and practice their faith in ways without the wolves, the government, the authorities stepping on them. The secular humanists that existed back then and that exist in our world today, trying to say, you have one God, and the God is government, the God is the state. We need you to look to the state. And Jesus is telling his disciples, You're like sheep to these wolves. They're going to attack you, but you have to remain strong in my word. That's why I trained you. That's why I gave you what you need to know. That's why I've tried to teach you. That's why I've commissioned you as people of faith to go out as sheep into the world. The second phrase is, it will not be you who are speaking, but the Father who will be speaking through you. Many times, people of faith, we say, well, I am not well trained. I'm not a good speaker. I don't have this ability or that talent. And so we're not willing to speak out, or we're afraid to, so we remain quiet. And Jesus is saying to his apostles, speak out. You do your homework. You learn what you need to learn. You study my word. You trust that God is with you at all times, that the Spirit is dwelling in you. And you've done your homework, so you just speak out. And it is not you who will be speaking, but God who will be giving you the words. God who will be speaking through you. For many years I did retreats all over the country, and a fellow traveled with me a lot to do retreats with me. And when we finished the retreats, I would ask him many times, well, what do you think? How did it go? And he always used to say, well, I don't care. And that used to bug me because I put a lot of my heart and soul into these things. And he'd say, I don't care. And I'd say, what do you mean you don't care? And he said, I did my homework. I did my preparation. I did my studies. And now I'm trusting God to take it all that I've learned and speak through me to reach the retreatant. So it's in God's hands, he said. And you know, it took me a while, but I realized that he is right. And we as people of faith, we have to trust also that when we are speaking out in the name of God to people around us, when we're speaking out as people of faith, trying to be examples of our faith in front of the wolves, in front of the world, we have to trust that God is with us always, and that when we speak out, it is not us speaking, but it is God, the Spirit of God, who is speaking through us. And we have to remember that. The third thing from today's reading is, whoever endures to the end will be saved. That means those of us, people of faith, who don't quit, who don't give up, but who remain strong and steadfast in our beliefs of faith, and we keep it going until the end, that in the end, in that final judgment, we'll be saved, we'll have life everlasting. But we have to remain strong. If you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything, is an old saying. And I think it's important for us to know that. One of my great heroes in the faith was Bishop Fulton Sheen, who's now being considered for sainthood, for canonization. And for many, many years in his life, he stood up to communism, and he preached about it, he spoke about it on TV and radio, he wrote books about the evils of communism. Well, what we're seeing in our world today is Marxism, which is a twin sister but with a militant side to it, that is taking over certainly in this country, but in other parts of the world. And we as people of faith need to speak out to that and trust that God will give us the words. The reason we have to speak out is one of the goals of Marxism, one of the goals of Black Lives Matter, which its leaders are on tape and video, radio, TV, saying that they are Marxists, that they're trained in Marxism, and that their goals are to employ Marxist tactics. And if they aren't able to undermine and change the nature of this country, then they will burn it down. That's their words, not mine. And we as people of faith have to realize that it is us, it is the church, it is God that they're coming after, that they want to get rid of. And we have to be willing to speak out against that. In Europe, right before World War II, they sat back. They just sat back. They were docile. People of faith and people just who didn't have faith but just lived there allowed Germany to go in and invade different countries in violation of the Versailles Agreement, which came out of World War I, the treaty signed and agreed to by Germany out of World War I. They were violating it, and yet Europe just sat back and watched. And we cannot, in our world, just sit back and watch. As people of faith, we know Jesus says we are being sent as sheep to the wolves. Again, that doesn't mean become one of the wolves. That doesn't mean just lay down and agree with the wolves. It means realize that they are wolves and be willing to stand up to them, to speak out to them, trust that it is God in you who will be speaking. And if we remain faithful to the word, if we endure to the end, then we will receive life in heaven everlasting. So those three things, I think, are the message from today. I hope you appreciate it. Amen? This is Mark Price. Thanks for listening.